Hello, everybody. We live in a world where silence is often mistaken for safety, where the absence of bruises is assumed to mean peace, where the phrase, "it's none of my business," becomes a shield against responsibility. But domestic violence is not always loud, it is not always visible, and it is not always over when the relationship ends. Behind closed doors in homes across every neighborhood, survivors are navigating a system that was never built to protect them. They are enduring not just physical harm, but emotional warfare, financial sabotage, and legal manipulation. And unless we come together across communities, professions, and belief systems, this cycle will continue. So let's talk a little bit about post-separation legal abuse. It is a term many people have never heard, but survivors know it intimately. It's what happens when an abuser uses the court system to continue their control. They file endless motions, they drag out custody battles, they weaponize protective orders, they manipulate legal loopholes to exhaust, intimidate, and bankrupt the person that they once claimed to love. And the system lets them. Why? Because our laws are outdated. Because emotional and financial abuse are still treated as less serious. Because unmarried survivors often have fewer protections. Because judges aren't always trained to recognize coercive control. Because the burden of proof is placed on the victim again and again and again. This is not justice. This is abandonment. And it's happening everywhere. Maybe not in your home, maybe not in your life, but it could be happening to your neighbor, to your coworker, to your cousin, to your child's teacher, to someone you love who's too afraid or even too exhausted to speak up. So what do? We come together. We stop pretending this is someone else's problem. We stop waiting for tragedy to strike before we act. We stop letting silence be the default response to suffering. We demand reform. We demand laws that recognize post-separation legal abuse as a form of domestic violence. We demand protections for unmarried survivors who are often left out of legal safeguards. We demand expanded definitions of abuse to include coercive control, emotional manipulation, and financial sabotage. We demand judicial training that helps judges recognize legal manipulation and act decisively. We demand systems that prioritize child safety over parental rights when one parent is using the law to harm. This is not about punishment. This is about protection. This is about ensuring that survivors can rebuild their lives without fear of being dragged back into court month after month. It is about making sure children are not used as pawns in a legal chess game. It is about restoring dignity to those who already endured too much. And it starts with us. It starts with conversations around dinner tables, with letters to lawmakers, with petitions signed at street tables, with educational flyers handed out at schools, hospitals, and senior centers, with community members saying, "I am not, or I may not understand everything that you have been through, but I believe you, and I will stand with you." Because when we stand together, we are powerful. We are the voice that interrupts injustice. We are the shield that protects the vulnerable. We are the fire that burns through the fog of manipulation. And we are the ancestors of the future where justice is not just a word, but it's a lived reality. So let us rise. Let us rise for the survivors who are still fighting. Let us rise for the children caught in the crossfire. Let us rise for the families who've been silenced. Let us rise for the truth that refuses to be buried. Let us rise and say, enough. Because justice should not depend on your marital status. Safety should not expire when the relationship ends. And silence should never be the price of survival. Together we can fix the system. Together we can make justice real. Together we can ensure that behind every closed door, there is hope. And it starts when we achieve justice for all.